of the current drama between the legislature and the executive?
Well, I want to say that you use an apt word, drama, because one of the journalists I read his piece described it as funny. I think it's becoming a drama now. I don't think that the River State House of Assembly is doing the correct thing. I don't think so.
Why don't you think so?
Now, first is if you take a look at the sequence of events, they have been in court. The Supreme Court gave a judgment, and irrespective of what anybody would have read in the social media, whether the issue of defection or no defection, there are three basic orders the Supreme Court gave. And these orders, irrespective of whether the judgment is 200-page judgment or not, what is implementable in every judgment will be the order or the orders. And in this case, there are three orders the Supreme Court made. The first one is stopping the Central Bank of Nigeria from paying federal allocation to River State government until certain thing is done, and that is the presentation of the appropriation bill. The second order is ordering the Misconduct River State House of Assembly to resume sitting unhindered. Don't forget, underline the word resume. Sitting unhindered. And the third order is that they must resume this sitting with all elected members of the River State House of Assembly. Now, like I said, to one or two persons who on one or two programs I have appeared before now, I said they present these matters to look as if the onus of implementing the orders of the Supreme Court lies only on the shoulders of the governor. It is not true. The governor has his responsibility, and that responsibility of implementation is on order one, presentation of the appropriation bill. Then the other two orders lie on the shoulder of the Speaker of the House. First is to reconvene the House, sitting with all elected members of the House. That's the order of the Supreme Court. And to reassemble the House whenever the House adjourns or has not been sitting. There are two things that are done. First is that the Speaker will post a notice of sitting or reassembly to be written to all elected members of the House. In this case, the Supreme Court ordered that Amehule must sit with Okojombo, Sokare, and the others. Now, if you watch, whenever the National Assembly adjourns Senator or goes on break, whenever they are resuming, they will write to all members. Peradventure, you did not get the letter. You will cause a publication to be made in the National Assembly, in the National Daily, to announce the reconvening of the House. And you will cause an announcement to be made in the national television. And in this case, you are implementing the orders of the Supreme Court. Now, failure to invite the orders means that you have not reconvened the House. Two, the governor took steps to discharge his own responsibility by going to present the appropriation bill. And what did you see? They were dodging the governor. He went there the first time. I'm sure you heard when the FCT minister was granting his media chat while the matter was ongoing. The impression created to Nigerians was that the governor has gone to broke into the assembly quarters, which was not true. And they said they didn't receive any letter that the governor was coming. Now the governor wrote again in his usual manner, very humble man. He wrote again and said to them, okay, I will return tomorrow, which is Wednesday. And when they got the letter, by Friday, they said they were adjourning Synod, only to come back on Monday without reconvening the house again. So you see that there is every attempt to dodge or to block the implementation of the Supreme Court order. In any case, they have not taken steps. There are three orders in that judgment. The governor's responsibility is in order one. The other two orders reconvene the house unhindered or resume sitting. That's the appropriate word. Then the third order, the Supreme Court took into cognizance or into notice that before this time there may have been faction. These people may be sitting and the other ones will be sitting. And that is why the Supreme Court ordered the Speaker of the House to ensure that this sitting resumes with all elected members of the House. I want to emphasize on the word all. That's the order of the Supreme Court.
Okay.
And no steps have been taken by the House to implement the other two orders that lie within their shoulders or lie on their shoulders to implement. Rather, they have been blocking the implementation of the first order of the Supreme Court. And therefore, I think that this is not how a house is run.
Okay, Dr. Gogo-Jaja, we have 3 minutes between now and the break. Now, the reason given for the failure of the presentation of the budget is a problem with correspondence. Letters have somehow not gotten to the intended destination. The House said they did not get the letter from the governor. The governor said they've not seen a letter from the House. Since you were a leader of the Assembly, what is the protocol for correspondence between the executive and legislature?
All right. First is the first step is the governor can call the Speaker to pick up the letter, or drop it with the Speaker, or the clerk of the House will receive. Any of the three goes.
When you say call the Speaker, what do you mean? Call him on the phone?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
or the governor can direct his principal secretary or commissioner for budget and economic planning or the secretary of the state government. In our own case, when Dr. Abie Sekebo was the secretary to state government of the state, or to state government of Rivers State, in most cases, if we do not receive the letter directly from the governor, Dr. Abie Sekebo brings the letter to us. If he doesn't give it to the leader, he gives it to the Speaker or the clerk of the House.
Okay. If the governor is going to see the Assembly members and he does not inform them, maybe he wrote a letter, they didn't receive it, or he just did not for whatever reason, could there be grounds for failure to seeing him? Could they refuse to see him?
Now, let me say to you, that is why, the style of this governor is not to shout. His style is not to make noise about certain things. If nobody tells you that governor picked his phone to invite the members of the House to meet with him, nobody will know that he made that attempt immediately after the Supreme Court judgment. Now, when he wrote the first letter inviting him, the reason for writing that letter is as a sign of evidence that I have made calls informally to ask them for us to meet. And nobody, or they didn't want to pick. Now, when he wrote the letter, they also did not want to. Now, it came to the issue of the presentation of the budget. I can conveniently tell you that several calls were made to both the leaders of the House and the clerk of the House. In the case of the clerk of the House, he said he had no directive to collect the letter. And I am aware that one of the aides of the governor, I'm talking about the letter written by the governor himself, one of the aides of the governor forwarded the letter to the speaker. Even when they have been called, I wouldn't say again what happened to the hard copy of the letter, but several attempts were made. And when the governor had done that, he had to shelve his program in Bori that day. In fact, that program was to hold by 11 a.m. Then he rescheduled it for 2 p.m. to enable him go and present this budget to the House.
Okay, Doctor. We are at the point.
The worst part of it is that if they want to organize the drama very, very well, they wouldn't even have started that same day. Because as soon as the governor left, as they have information, that's how the public also has information. Because as soon as they discovered that the governor was coming, they were scampering, locking everywhere, locking all the gates. And as soon as the governor left, they reconvened, pretend that nothing happened. You have the stories that he was on his way to Goni or to Bori. He made a stopover. That is dishonorable.
Okay, Doctor, we have to take a break now. After the break, we continue this conversation. Please stay with us.
Thank you.
All right. So you have said that you're not pleased with the Assembly's action so far. And just before the break, you talked about correspondence between executive, legislative. That's, of course, if things are working well. But the example you stated is if there is no problem both sides. Now you know that there is bad blood between the two sides. Should these channels that you had, especially, they've not been able to call the speaker via phone, send messages, is that a channel that to be deployed at this time, considering that men are not exactly in good terms?
Added that he wrote official letters.
Okay.
Even when they were not receiving us for me honestly. Now, if they had written an official letter, at least those letters should be acknowledged. And he walked down or drove down to the assembly himself. And rather than receive him, all of them locked the assembly quarters and disappeared. So, I think several efforts were made, and these are the most appropriate channels to get across to them.
Okay. That's a good.
The ground raised as gross misconduct.
Yeah.
The ground people use the word, when people use the word rule of law, the state is not the issue of rule of law. There's an abuse of law. River State is not the issue of rule of law. There's an abuse of law. When the governor presents the budget, he has discharged his responsibility of implementing, obeying.
We have to hand one vote. But thank you very much. All right, I might have to apologize. It's all I can spare. Time has not been on our program coming up at 5:45. So very quickly, if you can call the studio.
The stipulated time, whether 24 hours, 50 hours, and so. The court give him any period of time, even if it takes him a month or tries and please the budget. Is there anything wrong with that? That we want to do things. If not, I mean, they just and pure motive.
Coming up now.